Harihi Om. Gajananam Bhudaganadhisevidam Kavittajambho Bhalasarapakshitham Umasutham Sukha Vinashakaranam Namami Vickneswara Pankajam. Om. Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalar Spatikaatrudhim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Ayagrivam Upasmahe Yasyad Paradavakradhyaya Parishatya Parashatham Vignam Nignam Tisatatam Vishwashremam Tamashraye. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Gurave Sarvalokanam, Visaje Bhavaroginaha, Nidaye Sarva Vidyanam, Sri Dakshinamurthaye Namaha. Harihi Om. Sai Swarapranamastu. Om. Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathaya Bandhe Vedanta Deshikam Lakshmi Nada Samarambha Nada Yamuna Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Om Apadamapahattaram Dataram Sarvasampadham Lokabhiramam Sri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham. Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sithayam Pataye Namaha. Om Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattuliyam Rama Nama Varanane Rama Nama Varanane Nama Iti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramatphanamastu. Ashtiga. Sai Ram, and welcome to another talk on the inner significance of Rama Navami, which is quite fitting in terms of the timing. I mean, we've just completed 9 weeks of Ramayana, and what a fantastic journey that was. And to go back, I think I mentioned in the last session, not last week, the week before last, that this journey actually began, just before Rama Navami, or actually on Rama Navami day, when we released the audio of the Rama Navami talks. And then it's culminated in a, face-to-face session over the last 9 weeks, 9 or 10 weeks, with the exception of last week. And then this week, we are actually bringing it to a close by me talking on the inner significance of Ramayana. Not Ramayana really, but Rama Navami. Well, Rama Navami obviously has got a lot of connections or link, or it's related to the entire epic of the Ramayana. So how should Rama Navami be celebrated? What's the inner significance, what are the ritualistic things that people have been doing, whether knowingly or unknowingly, whether with an understanding and appreciation of the significance or not, right? How should it be celebrated, or how should it be observed, or how should it be conducted, And what's the message? What's the real message? We have so many birthdays, we have so many, utsavs, Mahotsavam, and we have so many auspicious occasions, and they all must have some impact on us, having observed them or having been familiar with them for, I don't know, X number of years, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, depending on your age and your background, right? So let me start by quoting something from the Padma Purana, right? This is called Rama's Shatanama Stotra, right? And this is the 8th verse of the Shatanama Stotra, which hails from Padma Purana, where it is said that Ramante yogine nante satyanandachidatmane iti ramapadenasau param brahma vidiyate. Basically, it simply says the supreme absolute truth is referred to as Rama, because all those people who are interested in the transcendental evolution from man, Manusha, to God, Purusha, will take pleasure in the unlimited true spiritual existence of Rama as a mere mortal, as a mere man, right? So Rama is an example of how normal people like you and me, like everybody around us, right? How we can aspire to become one with God, right? Of course, as I said to you, we know Rama as the 7th incarnation, the 7th lineage, in the lineage of incarnation, right? He was the 7th incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So we think Rama's God, Rama's God, Rama's God, but that's wrong. Rama was born without the knowledge that he was God. So he was born as a normal man with no additional or power or capacity, right? Unlike Krishna. So therein lies the issue. Firstly, we must accept that Rama was born as a mere mortal, just like you and me, without knowing who he really was. It had to take Kaladevan to come after 12,000 years or 11,000 years of Rama's ruling. I'm talking about post-war, right? The Yuddha Kanda is over, right? Back to Ayodhya, and he's ruled for 10 to 11,000 years. Then Kaladevan had to come and say, look, by the way, you are Lord Vishnu. You have to go back, right? Because you're the preserver. You're the sustainer among the 3 muttis. So then he had to go. Until then, he didn't know. He didn't know. Of course, Lakshmi departed earlier, right? Because one element must be in balance. Shiva Shakti, right? Shiva is down, Shakti is there, like that. And Adishesha, of course, Lakshmana was with him. But of course, the chariot or the vehicle or the driver departs first before the boss comes, isn't it? So Lakshmana had to go first. And then Rama went. When Rama went, together, Bharata and Shatrughna also went, right? And I've told you who they all are in actual, in the realistic sense of the word, and how they descended on earth purely to address the issue of the evil Ravana, or the adharmic, to bring back a balance of the adharma, to reduce adharma and bring back balance of dharma by eradicating Ravana. So as per the religious texts and the almanacs and the panchangas, Rama was born in Ayodhya, right, on the 9th day, which is the Navami Tithi, during the Shukla Paksha of the Chaitra month. So that took place, a few days back, about 4 days ago, on Wednesday, the 24th of April. So, if you remember, when I spoke to you about the first introduction, I spoke to you about the birth of Rama, and I said to you, he was born, right, on the 9th day, which is Navami. Of course, if you look at Krishna, he was born on the 8th day, which is Ashtami. Hence, Rama Navami and Krishna Janmashtami, because Krishna's Janma was on Ashtami, right? So one is bright, the other is dark. Both represents the existence of intelligence or wisdom, regardless of whether you can be in the light, but still up here is dark, or you can be in the dark, but up here is bright, right? At the end of the day, is the person that you are that dictates how much of wisdom or intelligence you can exercise under certain circumstances or different situations. So if you look at the Jyotisha Shastra, right, Rama was born at a time when, most of the powerful planets were in line. So I remember saying to you that he is also referred to as Panchoche Lokanayaka, right? That means Panchoche means five, right? What do you call? Elements. Five are in alignment. When you are born at this time, when these five elements of the planets are in alignment, then you are called the Lokanayaka, one who can rule, one who has the capacity to rule the universe. So what are the five things? The five things are Masha, Tithi, Lagna, Pasha, Paksham and Nakshatram, right? So Paksham, as I said to you, is Shukla Paksham, right? 14 days that leads up to Pauranami or full moon is called Shukla Paksham, from dark to bright. And then from Pauranami to Amavasa is called Krishna Paksham, dark period. So bright and dark. So Rama was born on the bright period, Krishna was born on the dark period, like that. So Rama was born and he was Punarvasu Nakshatram in Kataka Rasi, right? Lagnam was Katakam. So one who has got these characteristics will truly be, a proponent or an exponent of Dharma, right? And I said to you also in the closing session that the word Rama, right? It's not Rama, right? Rama has a different meaning. Rama has a different meaning. Rama has a different meaning, right? So, and I told you the old spelling of Rama was R with 2 or 3 A's and then M-A, right? Now, of course, it's been abbreviated to R-A-M-A. And in some books, you just have R-A-M, right? Ram. If you take the English word, it's called ram, and ram is an animal, okay? So you got to be careful when you say these things because the words you say carry the energy that come with the word. Huh? So when you say Rama, you say Rama. Just elongate that A a little bit in between. Then you get 3 syllables, Ra-a-ma, 3 syllables, and that represents for fire, light, and tranquility. Ra-a-ma, fire, light, and tranquility. So fire is Agni, light is sun, tranquility is moon, right? So what do they do? By chanting the name of Rama, fire extinguishes all the sins. Light extinguishes all the darkness. And tranquility extinguishes all turbulence, emotional turbulence and unnecessary thoughts. Mentioning the word Rama. Just Rama. Right? That's why they say Rama Nama Taraka Mantraha. Right? The name of Rama is a fantastic mantra in its own right. And that is why the Rama Likitha Japam, when you write Om Sri Rama Jayam, Om Sri Rama Jayam, whatever your sankalpa is, right? It is said that the chanting of the name of Rama, it means you are worshipping who? You're worshipping both Lord Vishnu and also Lord Shiva, right? Ra comes from Narayana, so representing Vishnu, and Ma comes from Maheshwara or Mahadeva, right? This is Lord Shiva. So Rama, of course, a call to both Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, right? So, it is a powerful prayer. And of course, Rama is Maryada Purushottama, right? That means nothing, Maryada Purushottama, nothing he has done or nothing that he, could have done would have been adharmic. Everything was done on the basis of what is right under the current circumstances. So remember, even in Mahabharata, when I did, Bhagavad Gita with you, I told you Yudhishthira was called Dharmaraja because he never deviated from the path, even though it meant, injustice for him or disadvantage for him. He never deviated from the path. So worshipping of Rama should mean we too should not deviate from the path of Dharma, whatever the consequences. That means you must imagine what a strong mind he must have had, right? And not just, when we are celebrating Rama Navami, it's just not, the focus is just not on Rama. The focus is on Rama and also on all the things around him and all the people that were around him. Because all of this tells you or imparts a valuable lesson to you, right? So let's talk about the 4 brothers, right? First, Rama was born. Then the second in line of birth was Bharata, right? A lot of people have thought it's always been Lakshmana because Lakshmana has always been connected to Rama, right? So, actually it's Bharata. And what was Bharata called? Bharata was called Bharatarajya Bharanaha, right? He was referred to, Vishwamitra was there and he actually named them with Vashishta, right? So why was Bharata called Bharatarajya Bharanaha? That means one who has the capacity to rule the entire Bharat. Whole of India he could have ruled. He was actually given the kingdom of Ayodhya to rule. And Ayodhya was, it had super annexed all the kingdoms around it. So he would have been actually the ruler of Bharat. Hence the name, Bharadarajya Bharanaha. But did he? No. Because what can we learn from Bharata? Humility and respect for your elders. So you're celebrating Rama Navami, focus and reflect on humility and whether you have respect for elders. You can only have respect for elders when you learn how to respect those who are younger than you. It's a two-way street, right? When you can respect people who are younger to you, those who are older to you will learn how to respect you who are younger to them, right? Bharata, although he had the kingdom to rule, most powerful kingdom at that time in history, did he? No. Instead, he said, you don't want to come back, brother. Give me your sandals. I will put your sandals in the kingdom and I will rule the kingdom from I won't even stay in Ayodhya because your sandals is there. I will rule it from Nandigrama, which is the next town. So when you're celebrating Rama Navami, reflect on that. How much would you give up to uphold Dharma or justice? How much would you give up for a family member? In this day and age, people are so intolerant, inflexible, and the first chance they get, they backstab. I'm not talking outside family, I'm talking inside family, right? Simple, petty things like, let's say the family has got one house, finish. 8 children will fight and kill each other for that one house. Here is a man who had an entire kingdom at his disposal, and he took his brother's sandals. And for 14 years, he worshipped the sandals and ran the kingdom from outside. That is something you should reflect on Rama Navami, right? Yeah, people always ask me, even on Tuesday, the day before Rama Navami, I had several calls, several messages, several emails asking, what is the best way? I said, reflect on how you have lived your life. Oh, we don't have to do this puja, that puja. I said, what's the point? Doing a puja, I remember when I did karma with you, I told you about 2 things, right? I told you about karma kandam, the law relating to action. And I told you about jnana kandam, the law relating to intelligence. I said every single auspicious occasion that you have an opportunity to celebrate or, enjoy or observe is an opportunity for you to do an audit on your life. Your life. So there's no point sitting there and chanting Rama's name 1,000 times. Say Rama's name maybe 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, or 108 times, right? But then spend the whole day in reflection. Or do good to others. If we can do some charity, good, right? The 3 types of charities I told you fundamentally, right? Annadhanam, giving of food. Vastradhanam, giving of clothes. Vidyadhanam, right? Giving educational implements, school bags, books, writing implements, that kind of thing. 3 things you must do, right? And I also told you during Bhagavad Gita that Karna did everything except Annadhanam. And that is why during this Mahalaya Paksha, 16 days, right? He comes down and on those 16 days, he just gives Annadhana. So it's a very powerful period, that period in September, right? It was the end of September, beginning of October time. So that is Bharata. What about Lakshmana? Of course, Lakshmana was born to Sumitra, as was Shatrugna, right? Bharata was Kaikeyi, and of course, Rama was Kaushalya, right? Lakshmana was called Lakshmana Lakshmi Sampannaha. Lakshmana Lakshmi Sampannaha. That means one who serves Lakshmi. But of course, Lakshmana throughout his life was serving Rama, but he was serving Sita through serving Rama, of course, right? Because he's Adishesha. In reality, who was Lakshmana? Lakshmana was Adishesha. And it's on Adishesha that Vishnu sits, and of course, Lakshmi sits near his feet, right? So he is called Lakshmana Lakshmi Sampannaha. So you ask yourself, on reflection on Lakshmana, how much of service do you do not just within the family or within your community, but outside of that, right? Lakshmana, Lakshmi, Sampanna. But remember, more than Rama, it was Lakshmana who had to look after Sita. Even when Rama went to look up for the deer, he left Lakshmana in charge. Even when he had to take Sita out of the kingdom, he told Lakshmana to go. So Lakshmana was more connected to Sita in that sense. So Lakshmana, Lakshmi Sampannaha means one who truly loves to serve Lakshmi, right? Then of course you have Shatraguna. Shatraguna is Shatru itihi Shatragunaha. Shatru means your enemies, right? So Shatruna itihi Shatragunaha. That means one who has the power to vanquish all the Shatrus. Let's not talk about Shatraguna. Let's talk about you. One who has been given the intellect and the power of discrimination to discriminate between right and wrong, good and bad, evil and all of that, right? How much of these enemies, your kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, mamada, matsira, hamkara, how much of these shatrus, these enemies are you killing and controlling? So Rama was Vishnu, Lakshmana was Adishesha, Sita was Lakshmi, right? Bharata was Shanga and Shatrugna was Chakra. That is why in the Gita, Krishna only uses the chakra when it is annihilation and complete annihilation. So when Shatraguna was born as Shatraguna, it was actually chakra from Mahavishnu's hand that was born as Shatraguna. Hence, you can understand Shatruna itihi Shatragunaha, one who has the power to vanquish. Okay, so most of the time we see this picture of what we call Rama Darbar, okay, the Rama family, right? So you see Rama with Sita and Lakshmana and Hanuman in a prostrating position. This is the classic picture that you see everywhere. And during Rama Navami, this is what gets floated everywhere, right? Whether it's on the news, WhatsApp, media, social, all that, right? So what is the significance? When you see this picture, and in this picture, you will always see Rama and Lakshmana always in the presence of a warrior like that, or their get up, their feature, their persona is one of a warrior. That means Rama has a bow, he's always holding his, right, dhanav, right? He's holding his bow, and of course he's got a quiver filled with arrows in there. Lakshmana is also the same. So what does this mean? Rama basically represents Dharma. So the next time you see this picture, you remember what I'm saying now, and you connect the dots in this way, right? When you look at Rama, you must look at the personification of Dharma. Rama Dharma Sampannaha, one who serves Dharma by his very existence. So what does the bow and the arrow mean? Now, being pictured holding a bow and the arrow with him at all times means you must always be equipped. Okay, be equipped for what? Well, what do you use the bow and arrow for, right? Well, of course, in the early days and in terms of the utility of the bow and arrow, it is for hunting, right? Hunting means you kill. What do you kill? You kill animal. Now translate that. You use the arrow to kill the animal of all the negativity in you. Like I said to you, the negativity of krodha, anger, kama, lust, lobha, greed, like that. Kill this. Take out the. So now let me talk to you about the bow and the arrow. The bow has a structure with a string, right? Right? And only when you pull the string stretches, right? When you place the arrow. So basically, life, you have to be like flexible with like the string. You can never find a rigid arrow. Then, of course, the arrow represents a sense of direction and wisdom, sharp intellect. And of course, the target is Parabrahman. So you must live your life with flexibility and have the arrow of intelligence to hit the target, which is merging with the Supreme Brahman. That is the target. What a fantastic explanation of this, right? about Lakshmana. Lakshmana represents unfailing faith, Shraddha. He never questioned Rama at any point in time. Rama says, sit, he sits, stand, he says, you know why? Because he knows Rama never says anything without a dharmic base. Finish. That kind of faith when you have, you are never to go wrong. Because that very faith will save you. That very act of righteousness will save you. I've always told you, many times I've used this, right? Dharma. Dharmo rakshita rakshitaha. Dharmo rakshitaha. One who observes dharma will be subject to dharma saving and observing that person. Finish. So unfailing shraddha means compliance with dharma, with devotion, with loyalty. That is the significance of Lakshmana. Sita, of course, I told you she's a Brahmajnani. So Sita represents wisdom. But for you and me, what does she represent? She represents the consistent observation of that wisdom so that it doesn't change tracks. She did not. Hence, she changed tracks, isn't it? If you don't keep your intelligence and wisdom in check, it will deviate because remember, Kama is calling, Krodha is calling, Lobha is calling, Moha is calling, Mada is calling, Mamada is calling, Matsarya is calling, Ahankara is calling. So at some point you will fall foul of this desire that eats up man. And Sita too, despite being the wise Brahmajnani that she was, that she represented, she saw the golden deer and said, I want that. When you put I and want, finish, right? The I will go because of the want. It will kill you at the end of the day, right? It will destroy your life. So Sita represents, as far as you and I are concerned, a consistent supervision of your intelligence and wisdom, right? And of course, Hanuman is there. Hanuman represents bhakti, courage, strength, and unfailing focus on single-pointed devotion, right? That means, you know, the task of jumping from the Mahindra mountain into Lanka, like I told you. One jump, never stopped anywhere. He faced trials along the way. I told you 4 Asuris came in his way. Finally, Lankini, he defeated all of them because he was so focused. You know, Samudra Raja came and said, come and rest. It's a long way. That is desire will come and pull you. But if you stay focused, so Rama Navami is a day for you to reflect on all these characters and say, how am I being like Hanuman, showing my bhakti? How am I being like Sita, ensuring that my wisdom is completely checked at all times, consistent in its endeavor to reach the Supreme Parabrahman? How am I being Lakshmana in my life? And of course, the Maryada Purushottama. Am I dharmic in my life? This is what you should be doing. Not listening to Ramacharitra. What's the point? Right? There are thousands of versions on YouTube. Why do you need Rama Navami to sit especially and spend 3-4 hours listening to it? No. Spend 2 hours reflecting on your life and think how you can improve it. Think how you can evolve spiritually. Right? People don't do that. They go and engage in all kinds of activities. Singing, dancing, cooking, eating, but not on reflecting. You know, without reflecting on where you are, you cannot plan where you want to get to. Virtually impossible, right? Because you must know where you are and at what stage of travel you are in order to continue your journey. So Rama Navami should actually be celebrated. The inner significance is, what has Ramayana taught me? What has the characters in Ramayana taught me? How am I imbibing these characteristics in my life? How am I applying these values in my life? You know, what are the cultural traits that these values have talked about during their respective journeys in the Ramayana? And how am I, you know, respecting that, employing that in my day-to-day life? Where was I 3 years ago? Where was I last year? Where am I now? Is there a spiritual evolution? No? Okay, so what should I do? This is my plan. That is why in your short essay, I asked you to give me a plan. You've heard me for 9 weeks. Now, what is your plan for your own spiritual transformation? What is your plan? That is what you should be doing for Rama Navami. What is my plan? The what, how, where, when, and why. That is what you should be focusing and thinking. So what lessons have we learned so far from the 9? Once in Cambridge, in one of the public talks, there was a lady there. I think she was English, right? I'm not sure. I didn't ask. She said, the Ramayana is huge. It's wide. It is so broad in its context and in its scope. Can you summarize it in 5 lessons? What can I take back today? I said, very good. I'll give you 5 lessons, 5 values, right? Number 1, respect your elders. Number 2, keep your promises. Number 3, avoid bad company, bad counsel, right? Then I just paused for a while because I want to know if she's listening. She said, yes, that was 3. What are the other 2? I said, protect the weak and know right from wrong, sense of discrimination. She was very happy with that, right? So if you asked me to say, can you summarize, in fact, my sessions were called the essence of Ramayana, right? So if I were to say the Ramayana is a fruit and I'm squeezing the fruit now, out of that, the 5 drops of Amrita comes out. What are these 5 drops? These 5 drops are first drop, respect your elders. So on Rama Navami, not just this year, every year going forth, think back. Have I respected my elders? If you think not, don't celebrate. Go out there and show some respect to some elders. Keep your promises. Don't make promises. Dasharatha, even though he was the king, right? He still honored the promise he gave to Kaikeyi. Such is the depth for the word called promise. Don't make promise, but if you do make it, keep it, because it will have repercussions. Now I'm going back to my karma talks, right? Beware of bad counsel. Friends, yes, you need, but beware, because there will be some people who will guide you in the right way, and there will be some who will totally misguide you. Kaikeyi had Mantara, who was very good to her, and she loved Rama, actually. She loved Rama more than she did Bharata, and many times she had made that very clear, right? If you look at the Balakandam, right? Going back to Balakandam, I mentioned this as well when I spoke to you about Balakandam, right? Balakandam, Ayodhyakandam, Aranyakandam, Kishkindakandam, Sundarakandam, Yuddhakandam, Uttarakandam, 7 kantas, 7 cantos, 7 chapters, right? But because she listened to Mantara, who poisoned her mind, and then the rest became, as you know, what happened after that. So those are the 5 things, if you want me to give you an essence, right? Those are the 5 things. Respect your elders, keep your promises, beware of bad counsel, protect the weak. Because if you want to be like Rama, then you have to be Maryada Purushottama. Dharma at all times, at all places, regardless of who, where, what, when. Dharma never changes, like Sathya, truth. That's why Rig Veda can be completely condensed in 2 words. Satyam Vadha, Dharmam Chara. That is Rig Veda. Finish. When you observe Satyam Vadha, when you only speak the truth, and you only act righteously, that means you are practicing the Rig Veda. You know the Rig Veda in and out, even though you can't say 1 sentence from the Veda. Okay, so the value of promise, right? Dasharatha, nothing was close to him, other than Rama. But because of a promise he made, and as king, he could renegade. After all, he's king. Who's going to say no? Kaikeyi, he could have managed in some other way, right? He kept the promise, and he sent what is most near, dear, and precious to him away for 14 years. And of course, as a result of that attachment, he passed away, right? But this is the value of the promise. And Dasharatha teaches you never to renegade on your promise. But the lesson is it's not to not renegade, it's not to make a promise. Because if you make a promise, you have to keep it. That is Dharma. So even Dasharatha, by sending Rama away, was actually doing Dharma because he was, respecting his honor. The man's word is his honor, the bond. So that is another value, right? Victory of truth over evil. That's another thing, right? Good will always win over evil. The evildoers will have fun, will be on a journey of temporary happiness, thinking, I have put that person in problem. I have created a lot of issues for that person whom I don't like, right? I have said enough. I have created enough. Now that person will be in problem. Yes, temporarily. But at the end of the day, the true victory will lie on the side of the truth. Even in Sikhism, how does the prayer go? Ek Onkar Satnam Karta Purakh. Truth is his name. So if you worship any god, truth. In Christianity, I said to you, thy will be done. So you can't do anything. Your will be done. So how can you as human being take charge and take control? Man plans, God disposes. Oh, we know that. Yes. But you don't give credence to that because you still think you are the doer. One whole chapter I spent even in Gita on the difference between the doer and the deed. Right? Chapter 16. So remember, on Rama Navami, you don't have to worry. If you are sticking on the side of the truth will always win, maybe temporarily. I mean, there is no way, I can tell you now, with a straight face, I'm looking at you and I'm saying, there is no way Rama could have won Ravana in battle. Because Ravana was that much more powerful. Ravana lost because of ego. Rama won because of Dharma. Because when you have ego, and ego is the central point of all your activity, all the goodness will leave. When you are weak, but the central focus of all activity is Dharma, all that goodness will come and be attracted to you. That is why I said to you, at all points in Rama's life, he met different gurus, rishis, acharyas, who gave him different implements that will come to his head when he faces the supremely incredible and fantastically invincible Ravana. Yet he won. He wouldn't have been able to kill Ravana. Agastya told him, shoot this arrow, say this mantra and shoot here. And who came? Matali came. Who's Matali? Matali is the chariot of Indra. He had to come at that right moment, take Rama on his chariot and say, shoot him. Nabi Kamala. Shoot him in the area of the umbilical cord. That is where his, Purna Amrit is. That's where his life is. The Amrit is there. His life's power is put there. So that's why, his hands were slashed, everything, nothing happened to him. When Rama final arrow after the Aditya Hridayam, Tato Yutta Parishrantam Samare Chintaya Stitam, boom. The great mighty Ravana fell. Remember, if you're doing good, if you're on the side of truth, if you're on the side of Dharma, you are victorious. In simple words, you are victory itself. Maybe a little delayed, but it's there. The help will come. Suddenly you will see somebody coming from somewhere and giving you that hand. Have that faith. Have that faith that Lakshmana had on Rama. That even when Rama said, I banish you out of the kingdom, Lakshmana just moved. Another value on Rama Navami which people should reflect, and this is especially the younger generation, right? How much of love and respect do you have for your parents? Just one word from Dasharatha. Rama was willing to leave everything I mean, remember, he just got married, yeah? Came to Ayodhya with Sita, Lakshmana, with Urmila, and so on and so forth, right? One word, father says, I want you to go for 14 years. And I've made this statement many times. I've asked the young generation, right? How many times do you fall at your mother's feet and your father's feet? Every day that you don't do is a wasted opportunity. It's no point praying to God because God is only number 4 in the queue. Matru Devo Baba, Rigveda says. Pitru Devo Baba, Rigveda says. Acharya Devo Baba, Aditi Devo Baba. Aditi is guest. Guest is God. So God is number 4. So you can't do all this dishonor and disrespect to your parents or elders and go to God saying, I have a clean slate. God will say, no, 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 no. Don't come to me. I give you another birth. Go. Learn to respect your parents. Learn to love your parents. Right? Even though they may have been horrible to you or they may not have been as nice as you had expected them to do, expectations, in inverted commas, equals disappointment. You don't have to repeat that, isn't it? You can see it's set the right way. By treating them nicely, which they didn't do to you, what are you teaching? What are you imparting? You are imparting regret for them. They will look back and think, oh my God, my son or my daughter is so nice to me, even though I was not, I didn't give them the time or I could have been nicer. No, that is what you have to do. Your job as a human being is to help the person next to you, regardless of whether that is your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter, your uncle, your auntie, your nothing. Help. Hence, Swami says, help ever, hurt never. Simple. Right? 14 years because of his father's words. And yet we have, my friend, the other day I was talking to my friend, he said, hey, Vic, I told my son to go and buy something from the shop. He said, go do it yourself. I said, you think he's Rama, is it? Just because you say he'll go to the forest for 14 years. So children these days, very different, right? So that message is for the younger generation, right? The more love and respect and honor you show to your parents. There is no greater temple in the world than the feet of your mother. There is no greater hands in the world than that of your father. When you touch your mother's feet and when your father's hands touch you, that is the blessing of Shiva and Shakti collectively. Listen to me, and you can bring this quote back to me anytime, any day, any place. If you haven't done it, do it. Age is no matter, right? A mother's blessings is finite, no, infinite, yes. Another value that you should reflect on Rama Navami is true devotion and surrender. Who comes to mind when I talk about true devotion and surrender? Who at any point in time showed true devotion and was completely surrendered himself? Irrevocable surrender I'm talking about. Hanuman. So the message is be in service, in the spirit of servitude. Everything about him was Ram. And I said to you, if you want to pray to Hanuman, don't say Hanuman's name. You will get nowhere. Say Ram's name. You will get somewhere and he will come and take you to that place. Remember what was Hanuman's parting words to Rama just before Rama went into the river Sarayu. What did Hanuman say? Rama just told him, your job is to protect my devotees. And what did Hanuman say? Anyone who prays and says your name, I will stand by them. That is why Rama Nama Taraka Mantraha. Because not just Rama will come and protect you, Hanuman is also there to protect you. You can sing anything and say any name in front of Hanuman, it will not move him, right? You can say Hanuman Sahasranama, 1,000 names of Hanuman, you can go and stand in front of Hanuman and say, he won't even open his eye and blink. Not even a hair on his body will move. But if you say Ram, everything about him will move. So if you've been praying to Hanuman by saying Hanuman's name, stop. Go in front of Hanuman and say Rama's name. that statue in front of you will come to life, right? And towards the end, I'll tell you another story of how powerful Rama's name is, right, with regards to Hanuman, right? So remember, true devotion and surrender. Friendship. Rama Navami is a day for you to reflect on all your friendships, because the greatness of a true friendship should be realized on important occasions such as Rama Navami. And when I talk about friendship, true friendship, who comes to mind from the story? Of course, Sugriva. Sugriva, whom he helped to regain his lost kingdom by killing Vali, the adharmic side. So you have to honor that. You have to think about that. You have to honor that. And it's a day for you to think about who your true friends are. Friend in need, friend indeed, true friend. Give them a call, talk to them, because you will never get those times back. Next thing, I'm going back to Balaganda now. What was I going to say? Guru Vakya. Guru Vakya, that means respecting the Guru's word of honor. Whoever you pick as a Guru, right? It's no point picking that person as a Guru if you do not show reverence to his words of wisdom. I'm going back to Balakanda, Rama and Lakshmana, how they were taken in by Vishwamitra, who fully prepared them for what was to come years later. Right? Even before Ayodhya Kanda, right? In Balakanda itself, they were completely prepared. Then he goes to Mithila, and he, takes Rama to Sita Swayamvara, and of course, he marries Sita there. And of course, he tells Janaka, wait, two more brothers are there. I know your brother has got 2 daughters, right? Bring them. So he got all 4 brothers married, then went back to Ayodhya Kanda. Then, of course, the issue with Kaikeyi happened, and then Aranya Kanda. And of course, he was already prepared. He had all the knowledge, and he was being given weapons by different rishis, right? Because that was going to be what he was going to need when he faces Ravana. So you see how much of help has been given to Rama. So don't you think it is wrong for you to think that Rama was God? No, Rama was a normal man. He had no idea. Completely did not know. Oblivious to the fact that he was an incarnate. Unlike Krishna, who could live the Govardhan in his little finger. Right? Who could open his mouth and Yashoda could see all the planets inside. Right? He's called Kalinga Nartana. He was dancing on the head of the serpent, Kalinga. All because he had the power. He was born with absolute power. Similarly, the 7th incarnation, Rama, was born with absolutely no power. Accept that and you can enjoy Ramayana in its true sense. If you think Rama was God and you think he is God, although he didn't know he's God, you think he's God, then every stage you will be questioning, hey, how come Rama did this? He was God. Hey, how come Rama did that? He's God. Right? Particularly issues with Sita, you will think, hey. So just think for a moment, if Sita is Mahalakshmi and Rama is Vishnu, would they go to that extent? No, isn't it? So there must be a valid explanation, a justification of why things happen in that way. And I clarified this with you when I did the Yuddha Kandam and subsequently the Uttara Kandam. So you should have no worries now. So respecting the Guru's word of honor, that is something that you should think about. You should reflect and have an insight on Rama Navami. The next thing you should reflect on when you're talking or when you are celebrating Rama Navami is unity. You know, the standard expression, united we stand, divided we fall. How did Rama build the bridge? From Rameshwaram to Lanka, Sri Lanka. And I also explain why it's called Sri. With monkeys, with squirrels, with birds. Why? Because the unity. United we stand. And remember, when the bridge was built, they had no technology, right? Technology was devotion. Technology was unity. And I also told you in the last session how NASA has discovered the existence of this, and they have even dated the stones and the sand back in time that corresponds with the Rama avatar. Don't believe me, but I'm sure you'll believe NASA, right? So there you go. Another thing that the Ramayana teaches, and when you are celebrating Rama Navami, you should reflect on, is equal treatment. Equal treatment for all. Was not Rama one who treated everybody equally? Sarvam Vishnu Kudumbam. And he lived to that. He embraced Hanuman. He embraced, what do you call, Shabari. He embraced Vibhishana. When everybody said to Rama, don't believe Vibhishana is Ravana's brother, don't take him into your court, Rama said, everybody deserves a chance. Come, Vibhishana. And I told you, Vibhishana represents Dharma, right? And the guna of Sattvic. Ravana, Rajasic, and Kumbhakarna is Tamasic. So equal treatment to everybody. Everybody here does not only mean man, right? It means animals as well. Treat them with love and kindness. And what does Swami say? There is only one religion. Religion of love. There you go. Treat everybody equally. Yam Manusha, Sam Manusha. Everybody is everybody else's brother. Beware of bad counsel. We're talking about Kaikeyi and Mantara back then. Today, there are so many people who would do that inside families, outside families, friends, relatives. Oh my God, you know. Sometimes, you know, when people come to consult you in relation to a family issue, you hear so many things and you think, your brother said that about you, your sister said that about you, your dad said that about you, your mom said that about you. My God, you know. So do not discount anybody from misleading or misguiding you as far as being your counsel is concerned, right? Anyone has the capacity to mislead or misguide you. So beware of bad counsel. Exercise discrimination. Don't just listen to everything everybody says to you. Keep good company. That's why he says, ABC, avoid bad company. And when I did Bhaja Govindam with you, I told you, what did Adi Shankara say? Show me who your friends are and I'll tell you your character. Right? Tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you about your character. So there you go. Your mind must not be easily manipulated by people around you. It must be a fortress like Ayodhya. Ayodhya is an invincible fortress, which was ruled by Dasharatha, one who has mastered the 10 chariots. Dasharatha, 10 chariots means 5 senses of organ, 5 senses of perception. Jnana Indriya, Karma Indriya. How relevant are these things in today's life? Given the fact that they happened at the time when they happened. Love and compassion. That's another thing you should focus and reflect on Rama Navami. How much of love and how much of compassion do I have? Am I living a value-led life? Human values, Satyam, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, Ahimsa, finish. Is my life full of Satya? Is my life full of Dharma? Is my life full of Shanti? Is my life full of Prema? Is my life full of Ahimsa? Ahimsa means not just violence in actions, right? Violence in thoughts, violence in words, and violence in actions. So if avoid bad company is the message, then the inner message is keep good company. You may be a very, very good person. You may be a very, very balanced person. But if you keep bad company and you avoid good company, you will become like them. No exception. You want example? Karna, eldest brother of the Pandavas. Dharmic, yes. Dharmavan. Dhanavan. Nobody has given like Karna has. What happened? He kept bad company. He was in the worst company, in fact. Sakuni. right? And of course, Duryodhana. What became of him at the end of the day? Boom. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. So, avoid bad company is the central message, but the inner message is always keep good company. Have healthy circle of friends that motivate you and make you want to become like that. Right? When you become like that, because you're always surrounded by this vibrating energy, isn't it? Good, positive, affirmative energy. Don't lose focus. Losing focus. Like I said to you, the journey that Hanuman made, stay focused on your single-pointed devotion. Right? That should be your standard operating procedure. Standard operating procedure, your SOP. Don't lose focus. Distractions will come and try and derail you and erode you. But you be bold. You be focused on your journey and you'll be fine. People will come and try and detract you, derail you, right? You just continue. Right? When you go at that speed, they will stop because they are distracted by other things. For a while, they'll come and try to shake your boat, ruffle your feathers. So for all those of you out there who are currently going through some problems, right, these two will pass. It's just a stage before next stage. So don't be too fazed by it. Don't lose focus. If you're on the side of truth and right action, and you have nothing to fear. Even the gods are subservient to those two principles of truth and dharma. Satyam and dharma. Truth and right conduct. So you worry. You don't have to worry. Right? No one can touch you if you are on the side of the truth and on the side of dharma. Everybody else, they will be affected. Remember, I told you before, life is like a boomerang. You know, you throw a boomerang. It goes, flies out there in various directions, but it comes back to you with astounding accuracy. Astounding accuracy. So if you throw good thoughts will come back to you. If you throw good words will come back to you. If you throw good actions will come back to you. Likewise, a law of karma, action and reaction, cause and effect, cause and consequence. You throw bad thoughts will come and hit you. You throw bad words, negative words, those words will come and hit you. You throw bad actions will come and hit you. So on Rama Navami day, think, I must only say good things. I must only think good things and I must only do good things. Where does it start? It starts in here. Only if inside here is positive, good, right, then what comes out of this will be good, positive and right. Then what this does will be good, positive and right. If he is bad, nothing good will come out from here and nothing good will come out from here. Right? The other thing I said is protection of the weak. You have to protect the weak. Right? When Vibhishana was chased out of the kingdom of Ravana because he told Ravana, return Sita, that is the right thing to do, Rama took him in because Vibhishana was weak and defeated. He had nowhere to turn. And the faith that he placed in Rama, Rama rewarded by accepting him and embracing him. And Vibhishana never looked back. Because he went to the right place, he got what he rightfully was entitled to, which is ruling the kingdom of Sri Lanka after the death of Ravana. So, it is said in the Bible, behold, the meek shall inherit the earth. There you go. Right? Get over your hurdles wisely. This is another thing that you should reflect. The inner significance of celebrating Rama Navami. You should reflect on how should I, get over my hurdles. Know how to use your mind, when to use your strength, at which point you should know how to use your words. That is intelligence. So with intelligence, you don't need strength as much. If you go back to the times that I told you about Sundarakandam, right? When I spoke to you about the journey of Hanuman, how many times did he use brute strength to defeat? He used intelligence. So the message of Rama Navami is get over your hurdles, fight your enemies with intelligence, not with brute strength. Because easily the bigger fellow can beat you up, isn't it? But if you use intelligence, then it's a David and Goliath story. Doesn't matter. Size does not matter. Of course, I told you Ravana and Rama, no match. Finish. Ravana was so convicted that he thought no man can defeat him. If the gods cannot defeat me, how can a mere man and monkey do anything? So everything was included in his, in his request to Brahma for a boon. The only thing he excluded was man, Naraha, and monkey, Vanaraha. That is why Ramayana is based on a normal man and normal monkeys beating the mighty Ravana. If you think you are so clever, then how much more cleverer will the creator be? You excluded a normal man and a monkey, right? So, right, okay, I will create a normal man to beat you with normal monkeys. Your attitude, and again, I've said this, I'm repeating, your attitude can take you to a different altitude, provided you have the right aptitude. Attitude, altitude, aptitude. Get over your hurdles wisely. That is another message. Army of people there, army of monkeys. How did they stay together and achieve? I spoke to you about unity. Another thing you should think about on Rama Navami Day, specifically, if you're talking about, how do I celebrate it? And that's what I'm talking about, right? How you should celebrate it. And one day is not enough. You're going to think about all this anyway. So you could make it a daily affirmation practice. Team motivation. Team, if you take the word team, T-E-A-M, right? Together, everyone achieves more. The motivation was Rama and how he was motivating everybody to work together. He knew everybody's strength. So the Ramayana from a management perspective, right? So if you are a CEO or a CFO or a CTO or CLO, whatever the case may be, right? This is what you should be doing. Team motivation. You want your company to do well, you want your business venture to succeed, make sure you are a good motivator. A good leader is a good motivator, as was Rama. So on Rama Navami Day, reflect on that inner significance. Right? This is another classic. How do I celebrate Rama Navami? On Rama Navami Day, recognize that forgiveness is a far better attitude than revenge. Rama, at every stage of the journey to fight Ravana, even when he had crossed across and he had camped up there on the hill of Sudesa, he sent word. He sent Angada. Remember, I said to you, Yuddha Kandam time. He sent Angada, the son of Vali, to Ravana and says, all will be well. Just return Sita. Ask for forgiveness, and that's it. We can avoid everything. Forgiveness is always a better attitude than revenge. We say it, isn't it? When you say something wrong, when you think something wrong, when you do something wrong, we say the Shama Prarthana, isn't it? After a puja or after something. Yadak Sharapadabrashta Matra Hinam tu Yad Bhavet Tat Sarvam Shamyatha Devam Narayana Namostuthe. Like that we say the forgiveness. This is telling you. Shama Prarthana is telling you the value of forgiveness. There you go. On Rama Navami Day, what better way to celebrate than to focus on forgiveness and how much you have forgiven those who have gone against you, who have done something bad. Makes you a bigger person, a much bigger person. Instead, we go around saying, you did that to me, you see what I can do to you. That is Ravana talking. Rama says, do the right thing. Everything is forgiven. Finish. So always maintain an attitude of forgiveness. That's the lesson there, right? Another thing I told you about Sita and wisdom. On Rama Navami Day, check your wisdom, check your intelligence, check the meter. Because remember, all that glitters is not gold. All that glitters is not gold. So be careful of this moha vasanas, these desires, they will come. That is why in Bhaja Govindam, right, Adi Shankara said, Buddha, Jahihi, Dhanagama Trishnam, Dhanagama Trishnam, Guru Sadbuddhim, Manasivi Trishnam, Yellabase Nija Karmopatam, Vittam Tena Vinodaya Chittam. Buddha, fool, Jahihi, Dhanagama Trishnam, move away from this thirst of your desires. Guru Sadbuddhim, Manasivi Trishnam, sharpen that mind and focus it on one pointed focus, whatever that focus may be. Yellabase Nija Karmopatam, then whatever is coming in your way, then you can transcend your life easily. But once you start giving into these mohavasanas, desires, it will desire you, like an entire tree falling down. That's what desires will do. It is a big chainsaw cutting a huge oak tree, right? So, choice is yours. You have to think about it, right? Rama Navami should be an occasion for you to think back, am I in a comfort zone? Am I in a comfort zone? Leave the comfort zone, right? That is it. Remember, the only constant and consistent thing in this world is change. So embrace change, accept change, then you're fine, right? That's what Rama happened. Rama was the crown prince, going to get coronated. A day before that, he's asked to leave. 14 years, he's left every single thing that was near and dear to him. All the comfort, all the luxury. He left just wearing what he did and leaving Ayodhya to go into the Aranya. How many of us can do that? That means not being attached to. This goes back to the four Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Attached to material possessions, difficult. So detach yourself. Satsangatvam, nitsangatve, nitsangatvam, nirmohatve, nirmohatvam, nischalatatvam, nischalatatvam, jivan mukti. Maintain what do you call? I said Rama, fire, light, and moon, right? Fire, sun, and moon. Moon is something that can always cool and calm your mind, right? So when you pray to Chandra or moon, you're asking for the brilliance of that white light of calmness, coolness, calmness, and the soothing white light to descend upon you so that there is no turbulence in your thoughts. If there is no turbulence in your thoughts, there is no turbulence in your words. If there is no turbulence in your words and your thoughts, there is definitely no turbulence in your actions. Then you have a harmonized person. Even when he was faced with Ravana, he knew he could not defeat Ravana, but he also knew that he had all the gifts. So he fought with that faith. Cool. Remember once when Ravana was fighting and then he was injured, and then Rama came into the battle. He saw Ravana. He could have easily fought with him because Ravana was already injured. But no, he said, Ravana, go back, recover, and come tomorrow, we'll fight. This was the 11th day of the battle. On the 12th day is when they actually fought and working. So maintain coolness during crisis. Something you should think about. Not just during Rama Navami, but every other day, And I've already said to you about respecting your elders and doing your duty. Doing your duty towards your parents. Right? And you remember I told you one story in my reflection series on Thursdays about the father who was sitting, the old father who was sitting with his, young son. The father was asking, what is that on the veranda? And the son said, it's a bird. The father asked again. And after about the fourth or the fifth time, the father asking, the son shouted at him, saying, what's wrong with you? How many times do you want me to tell you? And the father went inside and looked for a diary, and 10 minutes later came out and he started looking at his diary. So his son was looking at him and he's thinking, what is my father doing? And he pulled the diary and he was seeing his father had written for 25 years ago how he sat in the very veranda with his young son who kept asking him, what is that on the veranda? What is that? What is that? And the father said, it's a bird, it's a bird. And the father had made a note in the diary. My son asked me 33 times, what is it? And 33 times I said, it's a bird, it's a bird, it's a bird. Duty bound towards your parents, right? Don't think you're doing them a favor, right? Don't think you're doing them a favor, right? Because karma will come back and hit you. What you give is what you will get. No one can escape from that. No one. Rama was bound by it. Parashurama was bound by it. Krishna was bound by it. So you and I are no exception. Doing pujas, all that is not going to annihilate you. It may reduce the suffering, but it will not annihilate the debt, right? So if you have to pay debt to a bank for 15 years, by doing all these pujas, the bank is giving you, okay, now I'm going to take 3 years more to pay. You get a bit of leeway, a bit of lesser suffering, but the debt still remains a debt that you have to pay to the bank. That must be discharged, right? And I told you about embracing everybody. There is only one caste, Swami says, right? The caste of humanity. And you look at Rama in Rama's life. So when on Rama Navami day and any other day, reflect on how he treated everybody irrespective of caste or creed or color. How he was with his own brothers. Remember the fisherman, King Guharaja, how he was embraced him and he said, you know, I have 4 brothers and you are my 5th brother. He said the same to Vibhishana, said the same to Sugriva. Of course, with Hanuman, when you embrace Hanuman, you say, you are part of me. Inseparable. So, be humble, humility, stoop to conquer. That's another thing that an inner significance of Rama you should focus on when you're actually celebrating Rama. See, this should give you a completely different tweak on how to celebrate Rama in future. You know. Of course, nothing stopping you from doing a puja in your house if you've got Rama idol, you know, you want to do some abhisheka, you want to say the 108 names, all that is fine. But that is karma kanda. That's the jnana kanda part. So the intelligence can only be evoked and provoked by reflecting on all this, right? Be humble no matter how powerful you become. Because when you step away from the power, it is that humility will still give you all that love of the people. If you're arrogant, the moment you step off of the power, you won't have a lot of love. You will have a lot of hate for you. So Rama was the same. Always in a state of mandahasa. Choose the path of righteousness. Rama was Maryada Purushottama. Only right thing he did at every stage, as a son, as a father, as a brother, as a king, as a friend, you know, as a husband. I had such a deep sense of commitment to his duty. So you want to celebrate Rama Navami? Okay, you see how committed are you to your own duties. Duties at work, duties at home, duty to everyone around you, duty to yourself. You know, what are you doing for your own self? How deeply committed are you there? You know, so all those things. Then, of course, another reflection that you should, you know, all this, you should abandon all these traits or negative qualities. Your kama, krodha, moha, lobha, moha, mada, mamada, machera, hamkara. Irshya is jealousy. Jadhatha is insensitivity. You know, insensitivity. You know, some movies you see, especially Tamil movies, they will, you know, the old people will scold the young, the useless fellow, you know, they will say, "Ennada nee jadam mari irukriye, jadam." Jadhatha means insensitivity. Grina means hatred. And of course, bhaya is fear. And Swami says, why fear when I am here? So why should you fear? If God has come in front of you and told you, just go, I'm behind you, then what are you fearing? Put him in front of you and follow him. Don't worry who comes behind or who's chasing you behind and what weapons they have with them. Don't worry about that. That is not a problem. Cultivate bhava, cultivate bhakti. This is the message. This is the true message. You know, Rama Nama Taraka Mantraha. So let me finish with how powerful the name of Rama is. This is this happens in the court of you know, when Rama comes back and he's king and he's ruling Ayodhya, and you know, It's a normal gathering, so everybody is set there. Vishwamitra has come, and of course, whenever Vishwamitra comes, Rama gets up to offer his own seat, but Vishwamitra says, "No, you sit. I will sit here," and he sits beside. Vashishta is there, Sita is there, Lakshmana is there, and all the great, all the other courtiers are there. Hanuman comes. Hanuman comes and he goes and he starts bowing. You know how Hanuman humble. He bows to anybody, everybody. Then Narada comes and he says, "Hanuman, come here." So Hanuman goes to him and says, "Narada, Maharishi, what can I do for you?" He says, "You're saying you're bowing to everybody and saying, that's all fine. But there is one person to whom you should not bow because he's got a lot of ego and arrogance." So Hanuman says, "Who is that, Maharishi?" And Narada says, "You bow to everybody, okay, but don't bow to that Vishwamitra fellow. Right? Why? Don't question why. There is a reason why I'm saying this, right? Just go." Then Hanuman thinks, well, if Narada is saying it, there must be a good reason for it, right? So I'm just going to follow what he says. After all, he's a Maharishi, son of Brahma. Then Narada goes and sits beside who? He sits beside Vishwamitra. Right? Hanuman goes everybody, and then he goes to Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatruguna, Sita. But he bypasses Vishwamitra and goes to Rama. And Narada goes to Vishwamitra. You see what ego and arrogance this monkey has. He bows to everybody, and yet you are Rama's guru, the guru who gave him the weapon to kill Ravana. And he shows you such dishonor and has put you in this position of you. Something must be done to this fellow. So Vishwamitra says, "Yes, you are quite right." See, until then, Vishwamitra was fine. But Narada said something and then he also started. Now, this is what? Avoid bad counsel, right? Then Vishwamitra asks Rama, "What will you do or how will you respond if one of your subjects shows me disrespect and dishonors me?" Rama, as a righteous king, says, "Oh, to a guru, it can only mean death. Death is the punishment." And Vishwamitra says, "In that case, you have to impose a death sentence on Hanuman because this is what he has done." Narada, of course, is laughing because he wants to show the power to Vishwamitra of Rama's name. And this is the only way to do it. So Rama, of course, his relationship with Hanuman, he put that aside. Remember, I said to you, public interest over private interest, right? So he calls Hanuman and he asks, this is inquiry. Did you wish everybody except bypass Vishwamitra, Rishi? Hanuman said yes. But Hanuman at that time didn't say, "Oh, this because Narada told me and all that." Right? No, he didn't say all that. He said, "Yes, I did." He only answered the question. He says, "I did that. Yes, I did not give my pranams to him." And then Rama says, "Well, the punishment for dishonoring or not respecting a guru is death." Hanuman says, "Your wish is my command. But I only want you to execute." Rama says, "Okay, I will honor that request." So he asks for his bow and arrow. And then he knows how powerful Hanuman is, right? So he first takes the Brahmastra mantra and he's chanting the Brahmastra. Of course, Vishwamitra knows because he's the one who taught him, right? He releases the arrow and the arrow is flying towards Hanuman, who's sitting there in the middle of the court. What is Hanuman saying? Hanuman is saying, "Ram, Ram, 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 Ram." The arrow comes near Hanuman's heart and then just drops, doesn't even touch. Rama is taken back. He takes another arrow and then now he's reciting the Brahma Sirsha. Brahmastram on its own is powerful of total annihilation, right? Total destruction. The Brahma Sirsha is that times 1,000 times power. Brahma Sirsha. So he says he's reciting the mantra. And just as he's about to release, Vishwamitra stops him and he says, Don't do that, Rama. Rama says, why? He says, nothing will destroy this man or this animal, this monkey. Nothing can destroy Hanuman. Rama says, why? Because he's saying your name. And even if you are firing the arrow, your name is more powerful than you. So he has got an absolutely potent kavacha that cannot be penetrated by any, whether it is you, me, or even Parashurama himself cannot harm this fellow. Why? Because his kavacha is Rama. Hence, Rama Nama Taraka Mantra. Saying the name of Rama. Fantastic. So this is what on that day you should say. You just say Rama's name, do Rama's deed, serve in the way that Rama served. Take all the lessons that was given during the course of the Ramayana series, reflect on that, put them into practice in your life. And that's how you should celebrate Rama Navami. And that verily is the inner significance of Rama Navami, right? So I hope I have given you some insight as to how one should celebrate any function or any auspicious occasion for that matter, right? So, like Swami always says, Prema mudita manase kaho Rama Rama Ram Rama Rama Ram Rama Rama Ram Sri Rama Rama Ram Rama Rama Ram Rama Rama Ram Rama Rama Ram Sri Rama Rama Ram. May the force of Lord Rama always be with you, like the sharpness of his arrow. May your intelligence be as sharp. Anyada sharanam nasti tumeva sharanam mamaha tasmat karunya bhavena raksha raksha Ramaishvaraha.